Today, we're diving into a sobering but crucial topic: the trends in terrorism deaths attributed to four major groups from 2007 to 2022. We'll look at the rise and fall of the Islamic State, the persistence of Al-Qaeda affiliates like Al-Shabaab and Janim, and the emergence of groups like the Balochistan Liberation Army. We'll also explore the broader dynamics of sectarian violence, counterterrorism efforts, and the evolving tactics of terrorists, including lone actor attacks and new technologies. Finally, we'll touch on the critical role of religious institutions, clerics, and governments in either combating or enabling terrorism, and the nuanced interplay between politicized religion and genuine faith. Buckle up. This is a lot to unpack, but it's essential for understanding the global terrorism landscape. Let's get started. First up, the Islamic State, or ISIS, painted in light blue on our charts. The 2010s were defined by ISIS's meteoric rise and dramatic fall. Around 2013 to 2016, during its so-called caliphate, ISIS's terrorist activity exploded. Global terrorism deaths surged by over 350% from 2011 to 2014, largely due to ISIS's rampage across Iraq and Syria, alongside Boko Haram's terror campaign in Nigeria, which pledged loyalty to ISIS in 2015. In 2014 and 2015, we saw the deadliest years in modern history, with over 32,000 and 34,000 fatalities respectively, according to data from the Global Terrorism Database and the Institute for Economics and Peace. ISIS didn't just slaughter tens of thousands in the Middle East, it inspired or coordinated attacks worldwide. From 2015 to 2017, barely a month passed without an ISIS-linked incident. But by 2016, the tide turned. A US-led coalition and local forces retook key strongholds like Tikrit, Ramadi, Fallujah, Mosul, and Raqqa. By early 2019, ISIS lost its last territory in Baghuz, Syria. This territorial defeat slashed ISIS's ability to launch large-scale operations or attract foreign recruits. By 2019, ISIS claimed attacks and deaths plummeted, and global terrorism rates dropped by about 38% from their 2015 peak by 2022. ISIS shifted to an underground insurgency, with active branches in places like the Sinai, West Africa, and Afghanistan, but its aura of invincibility was shattered. This shows how one group's fortunes can swing global terror stats dramatically, and how defeating a caliphate can reduce a group's reach, even if its ideology lingers. Next, let's talk about Al-Qaeda and its affiliates, marked in red and dark blue. While ISIS stole the spotlight, Al-Qaeda quietly endured. Its core in Pakistan and Afghanistan was weakened by drone strikes and the deaths of Osama bin Laden in 2011 and Ayman al-Zawahiri in 2022. It never pulled off another 9/11 scale attack on the West. But Al-Qaeda's regional branches dug into local conflicts. Al-Shabaab in Somalia, shown in red, became a deadly Al-Qaeda franchise, rising steadily to become the world's second deadliest group by 2022. Its lethality per attack grew as it honed guerrilla tactics. Meanwhile, groups like Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb in Mali and Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula in Yemen entrenched themselves in local wars. A new player, Janim, an Al-Qaeda-linked coalition in the Sahel, formed in 2017 and drove a spike in violence in West Africa in the late 2010s, shown in dark blue. As ISIS lost ground in Iraq and Syria, jihadist activity shifted to fragile states in Africa and Asia. Think Lake Chad, the Sahel, or Mozambique. Afghanistan's ISIS-K branch also ramped up bombings post-2020. This diffusion shows that even as ISIS's central hub collapsed, the terror threat evolved, not vanished. The focus moved from centrally directed plots against the West to decentralized local insurgencies, making counterterrorism trickier, but lacking the galvanizing force of ISIS's caliphate. Now let's look at the Balochistan Liberation Army in orange, a secular group in Pakistan that rose in the late 2010s. Unlike the Islamist groups, its violence stems from ethnic and political grievances, targeting state infrastructure and security forces. Its rise highlights how terrorism isn't always religious. Local separatist movements can also drive deadly trends, especially in unstable regions like Balochistan. Sectarian violence is another key trend, ebbing and flowing with political events in mixed religion countries like Iraq, Nigeria, and Pakistan. In Iraq, sectarian bloodshed peaked in 2006-2007 after the Samarra mosque bombing, and again in 2014 with ISIS's attacks on Shia and Yazidis. After ISIS's defeat, sectarian attacks dropped, but the potential remains. In Pakistan, Sunni Shia violence, like bombings of Shia processions or the Hazara community, was horrific in the early 2010s, but declined after crackdowns around 2015. Yet incidents like the 2021 ISIS-linked massacre of 11 Hazara Shia miners show the threat persists. In Nigeria, Boko Haram's terror sparked some Christian reprisals, but the group also fractured, with one faction, ISWAP, focusing on military targets, while another continued indiscriminate civilian attacks. Sectarian terror often spikes during state weakness or group marginalization, and can sustain itself through cycles of revenge. Regional Sunni Shia proxy conflicts, like Saudi-Iran rivalries in Syria, Yemen, and Iraq, also fuel these trends, with ISIS's anti-Shia violence on one side and Shia militias using terror tactics on the other. By 2025, sectarian terror had eased from its peak, but the underlying fissures remain a latent threat. Counterterrorism efforts have been massive but mixed. The US-led war on terror, starting in Afghanistan in 2001 and Iraq in 2003, later expanded to a global coalition against ISIS from 2014 to 2019. These campaigns disrupted networks, killed dozens of jihadist leaders, and erased ISIS's caliphate, contributing to the post-2015 decline in terror deaths. But heavy-handed tactics, like drone strikes causing civilian casualties or abuses at places like Abu Ghraib, fueled grievances that extremists exploited for recruitment. Nigeria's harsh response to Boko Haram in its early days, including extrajudicial killings, escalated the group's violence. Over time, some governments shifted to softer approaches, like countering violent extremism programs, focusing on education, online monitoring, and de-radicalization. Saudi Arabia and Indonesia set up rehab centers to teach jailed extremists peaceful interpretations of Islam. These efforts signal that military might alone can't defeat an ideology. In the West, we've seen a rise in lone actor and small cell attacks, often by self-radicalized individuals consuming online propaganda. Unlike the organized groups of the 1970s to 1990s like the IRA, many post-2010 plots in Europe and North America involved one or two homegrown attackers using crude methods like shootings, stabbings, or vehicle rammings. Think of the 2016 Nice truck attack, where one man killed 86 people, or the frequent stabbings in France and the UK inspired by ISIS. Detection is harder, but these attacks are less sophisticated. The West also faces ideological diversification, not just jihadist terror, but rising far-right attacks, with FBI and CSIS data showing more white supremacist plots than Islamist ones in recent years. Far-right attackers often invoke themes like defending Christian Europe or targeting Jews and Muslims. This mosaic of threats, jihadists, neo-Nazis, anti-Semitic conspiracists, reflects both the success in dismantling large networks and the amplifying effect of social media. Terrorists have also adapted to new technologies. ISIS mastered social media for recruitment and propaganda, using Twitter, Telegram, and YouTube to spread beheading videos and glossy magazines like Dabiq. Some groups use cryptocurrency for financing, though cash and hawala remain dominant. Drones were used for surveillance and bomb delivery, and encryption aided covert communications. Counter-terror forces countered with mass surveillance, drone strikes, and AI analysis of online activity. While fears of weapons of mass destruction or major cyber terrorism haven't materialized, the tech race shapes how terrorism is waged and fought. Now, let's zoom in on the role of religious institutions, clerics, and governments. Some have enabled terrorism, often for political gain. Pakistan's ISI historically backed groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba as proxies against India, allowing them to fundraise in mosques and radicalize youth. leading to attacks like Mumbai in 2008. Iran's support for Hezbollah's terrorism, framed as divine resistance, is another example. Saudi Arabia's export of Wahhabi teachings, while not directly supporting Al-Qaeda, created fertile ground for extremism. Governments like Pakistan and Afghanistan have at times made truces with Taliban factions, legitimizing their violence. In Nigeria, local politicians allegedly patronized Boko Haram early on, letting it spiral. In Myanmar, leaders tacitly approved anti-Muslim vitriol from extremist monks, enabling the 2017 Rohingya atrocities. In India, some argued the BJP's Hindu nationalist rhetoric emboldens vigilantes, though the government isn't linked to enabling terror directly. In Israel, far-right ministers like Itamar Ben-Gvir, once tied to a Jewish terror group, have been accused of winking at settler violence. On the flip side, many governments and religious leaders have fought back. Multinational coalitions crushed ISIS and battled the Taliban. Egypt, Nigeria, and Western intelligence services have disrupted countless plots. Religious institutions have been key allies. Imams in Western cities work with authorities to counter radical preaching. In 2016, Islamic scholars issued the Marrakesh Declaration to protect religious minorities, refuting ISIS's persecution. In Pakistan, clerics issued fatwas against the Taliban after the 2014 Peshawar school massacre. Morocco, Indonesia, and Egypt promote moderate Islam through imam training and education reforms. In Catholic-majority Central African Republic, the church brokered peace deals. Pope Francis's interfaith outreach has eased Christian-Muslim tensions globally. High-profile clerics like Egypt's Sheikh Ali Goma and Pakistan's Tahir al-Qadri issued anti-terror fatwas, and over 120 Muslim scholars debunked ISIS's religious claims in a 2014 letter. Iraq's Shia Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani urged restraint to prevent sectarian bloodshed. Conversely, hate clerics like Anwar al-Awlaki radicalized attackers via YouTube, showing the double-edged sword of clerical influence. Community efforts also matter. Iraq's Sunni Sawa councils fought Al-Qaeda in 2007, and Nigeria's Civilian Joint Task Force helped oust Boko Haram from cities. Government policies can help or hurt. China's repression of Uyghurs risks breeding radicalization, while Tunisia's inclusive democracy curbs large-scale violence. When religious leaders like Jordan's King Abdullah or Pope Francis unequivocally condemn terror, it delegitimizes extremists. Finally, let's address the politicization of religion versus genuine faith. Many terrorists cite religion, but their motives often blend political, economic, or ethnic grievances. Religion provides a cosmic narrative, framing local struggles as divine missions. In Iraq, Sunni men joined ISIS not just for theology, but due to post-Saddam power loss and US occupation. In the Central African Republic, Christian-Muslim violence was about political power, not just faith. Boko Haram's religious rhetoric masks local rivalries and state repression. While some foot soldiers believe in promised rewards, most terrorism since 2005 stems from real grievances: war, injustice, poverty, framed in religious terms. This is why counterterrorism must address root causes and counter extremist narratives, not stigmatize entire faiths. In conclusion, from 2005 to 2025, we've seen terrorism's peaks, like ISIS's caliphate, and progress, with global deaths down from their 2015 high. But new fronts in Africa and lone actor attacks show the threat persists. Religious institutions can fuel or fight extremism, and disentangling faith from fanaticism is key. A comprehensive approach, security, dialogue, development, and moderate voices is the path forward.